Hello, everybody. If anybody's watching, let me go to the YouTube and see if this works. I might do this for an hour. I can't see myself doing it for much more than that. So, let me just make sure I'm streaming. I don't want to start just yet here. So, let me just make sure I'm streaming. Okay, we're streaming. Sound quality's good. We're looking great. So, if anybody ends up watching this shit, this is where we're starting. We're gonna explain what the fuck's going on right now. So, I'm bored. Playing Outlast. I have played this game enough to where I have collected a large portion of the documents that are available. And I haven't stopped yet in this game to just sit down and invest myself in all of this shit. This is one of my favorite games of all time, and one of the reasons it's one of my favorite games of all time is because of this. All of this background lore, all of this setup, this story that is unfolding in the background of whatever the fuck is happening in the game, there's shit going on out there. I know this game is far from the only game that does this, but this particular game has subjects that I really like. Psychological shit, political shit, existential shit. We're dealing with evil, MK Ultra type motherfuckers stealing homeless people off of the streets and performing some of the most horrific human experiments imaginable, right? That's the material that we're working with here, and I'm a sick fuck because I love it. I love it. It's relatively reflective of real life, and it's interesting to see where they take this shit. But we're starting from the beginning. So this takes place in 1953, starting in January of that year. Right? And then we're moving over. Wait, hold on. Cool. So, yeah, this is where we're starting, is 53. And then the most recent is looking at 61. These have been updated pretty much on a yearly basis, like in alignment with the corresponding years, basically. With alignment of the corresponding years of like whatever 1953 to us, which is probably like 2000, before the game came out, basically. The game came out in, I think, 2020, I want to say. Maybe 21. Maybe a little later, maybe 22. It might have been 22 or 23. It's hard to say. I keep forgetting how many years have fucking passed, because goddamn, I'm getting old. But basically, basically you can say, I think the equivalent of whenever this game started is when the documents start happening in order. So, like, as time passes in real world, time is passing in this world as well. Like, at the same pacing, pretty much. But obviously we're starting before. This is the setup to the current events of what the fuck this game is. I already personally read through this first section here. The Road of Signala Easterman recruitment. So the main villain of this game is one of my favorite villains in any video game ever. His name is Dr. Easterman. And he is this mysterious, kind of a seemingly professional character who is evidently fascinated by the human mind and the ability to manipulate it and to twist it and to make it do whatever the fuck you want. And he uses what this setup is, this whole world, this testing facility that gathers war veterans who don't have families or money or homes. They swoop these people off of the street and they do horrific experiments with them. And some of them range from torturous methods. Others are what they do with us, the reagents. And so our player the character we play as, which we end up actually switching people. One of the gameplay mechanics is that one of your characters ends up being released from this experiment and thrown out into the world for whatever our job is, right? Because this is brainwashing, and by the end of it, they do actually succeed through the fucking player characters. And I love it because that's exactly right. We're playing the fucking game, aren't we? We're playing the game to get out of here, and we're playing, and we know exactly what we're doing too. We're like, we don't give a shit. We're just getting in there. We're becoming brainwashed by this system, right? God, you can't see the. I hate this. You can't see the names of the documents on the bottom there because the border is hiding it. Ain't that fun? Anyway, I'll just get straight into what I've read here out of these. Dr. Easterman, for anyone who knows about Outlast lore prior to this, there was a guy named Wernicke who was a German scientist that was kind of bought over by the Murkoff Corporation in America, kind of basically giving him a free out to the atrocities he committed during World War II. And on the pretense that he worked with them, and that they basically give him an avenue to further his experimentation, and eventually it resolves in like Outlast 1, but this takes place even before that. So we're looking at like around the time when Wernicke was first getting into this ship before he was properly established, really. This is when he's starting to make a name for himself in this world, and Dr. Easterman is one of the people who is aware of him. He is aware of his accomplishments, he's aware of his history, and he's listening to this fucking guy. He's listening to Wernicke, and he's kind of understanding what he's saying, and he's kind of interested in the way that he thinks. He kind of relates to him in a way. Now, I think generally Easterman seems to be like a normal guy, relatively speaking. He's attending what I assume to be like a college, some kind of a speech or some kind of lecture, right? So he's out there. A Princeton, there you go. He's at Princeton. This motherfucker's up there, right? He's getting around. He's very smart. He's educated. He's interested. I imagine he's probably a psychology major or something like that. Whatever the fuck the equivalent would be back then, right? He's interested in this stuff. And this guy, Lawler, who is a peer of his, kind of approaches him. And he says, hey, man, what's it called? What do you think about brainwashing? There you go. He brings up the concept of brainwashing. Easterman seems a little hesitant to like the interaction because Easterman's not really feeling it. And then this guy brings up his brother. I think it's this one here. Yeah, he brings up his brother to kind of really get in there and to get straight into Easterman's head. And so he brings up the idea that his brother might have killed himself, and he also was out in the Korean War. And so I think his death was ruled off as a suicide, but Easterman is suspecting that his brother might not have killed himself, and that all kinds of crazy shit happened out in war. Lawler takes advantage of this mindset. Lawler takes advantage of this very personal issue that Easterman has, and he creates a bridge to an experiment that they're conducting on brainwashing subjects in Hong Kong, like it says right there at the bottom. So there's these strange shit going on there, but he might have the answer to what happened to his brother out there. And he also gets to aid Lawler in his research. So he does it. He sends a letter to his wife telling him how awful it is and how much Hong Kong fucking sucks. And, but how, he's getting his work done. He's doing there. He's getting there. But he misses home. And then we get a follow-up in which he gets contacted by one of the big dogs, one of the big names in the Murkoff Corporation. And he approaches Easterman. He sends this letter, and it's fucked up because within the letter is defamatory, or I guess like forbidden knowledge of sorts, right? He saw from Lawler, presumably, this guy named Olivier. Uh, Olivier, last name, who the fuck knows? There's some weird names in this game, but it makes sense because we're dealing with like international, what's it called? International conspiracy stuff, right? That's what we're getting into here. That's what this game covers. Gets approached by this guy. Gets the letter from the guy. And the guy basically feeds him some forbidden fruit through the letter itself, stacked on top of the fact that he showed enough interest in what they were doing to move to Hong Kong for the research, right? So they know that this guy's dedicated. They know that this guy can be directed. And so they immediately come out with a threat, effectively, and tell them, hey man, you now possess highly sensitive information that poses a national security threat. And we wouldn't want anything bad to happen. So if you don't want to get punished for having this knowledge, come work with us. And that's what he does. He moves out to Los Alamos, New Mexico, where they have another kind of experiment going on here. I assume it is Sinala, just whatever the Sinala location is, right? I think it was around here that because I was reading this and then I stopped reading it to go, you know what, this is something that I would like to stream because this is something I'm having fun with, and if other people might be interested in this. I think this is where I stopped, like right at the start of this, or at the end of this. Yeah, he said there's very interesting concepts of like the direction that humanity's going given the age of technology. This is like an interesting kind of look into that. Easterman's a highly intelligent person, and the thing about this first section here is it's showing that like he has a morbid curiosity about this subject, and he is a guy who is willing to go above and beyond to get the job done. Right? He's perfect for this fucking company. And so this is where I can see the beginning of what ends up becoming what the video game is. It's the little seeds that are planted in this document that I really appreciate, and I can't wait to read through, like, this guy losing his fucking mind and turning this place into hell. You know what I mean? So here we go. Report to board on Project Lathe personnel. Per the board's request, please find below a tally of the latest month's deaths and injuries incurred in Dr. Easterman's limbic aggression therapy. Experimental population 109, security 32, research scientific 8, maintenance 17, visitors 5. Addendum. No amount of redesign, hardening will make the trial environments at the Sinala facility acceptably safe. Strongly suggest immediate shutdown. I love this. So in the documents, we are making a 5-year jump. Over 5 years, pretty much. No, I guess about 5. No, yeah. Pretty much exactly 5 years, right? From the ending of him, like, initially getting into this, and then here he is fully into this shit. And the way that they begin that is by establishing that they have monthly deaths and injuries. They have a count of monthly deaths and injuries. And experimental population alone is at 109. This is within 5 years, this guy was able to make a system that is killing people well into the hundreds on a monthly basis without anyone like knowing about it, really, outside of people who are involved. Right? I mean, how fucked is that? That's awesome. Jesus Christ. A private journal entry of Dr. Easterman. Scarfiati is conspiring against me, trying to use the unfortunate events of Lathe as evidence of my incompetence. They'll sink the whole project. Transference is common in therapy. Gooseberry unconsciously seeing me as proxy to her father. Leyland Coyle projecting a veritable parade of murder victims into my humble frame. Whitehorn somehow mixing me in his head with some hillbilly Congress named Wallace. Accidents happened, mistakes were made, people died. Even outside of the trials, I take full responsibility, though there's very little I could have done. The science is a matter of experimentation. We cannot control the prime assets, and therefore we cannot control the experimental population. If Project Lathe is allowed to collapse, all of them will be summarily liquidated. Cool. And then we're still remaining in modern times, pretty much, just a couple of years ago. Well-made lemonade. By God, if life's given you lemons. Lathe provided reprogramming. Proved reprogramming is possible. So I'm gonna read like all fucked up because I'm high. It will be the first rough explosions and industrial disasters inspired the creation of the combustion engine. We can use the trial environments, the prime assets, and their XPOP. They will be the anvil against which we hammer our true subjects. Two principles must change. Number one, give me meaningless test subjects, neither damaged and broken mental patients, nor charismatic killers. Give me the vanquishable, the unloved, the unformed. I need subjects who are the opposite of special. I will be absent, powerful, benevolent, and mysterious by my absence. I cannot mix with the test subjects. I will find men and women without purpose, and I will guide them as God does, from a mysterious remove. God damn. The weird part about this is the fact that these documents are just kind of laying around. It takes me out of the game a little bit when you have these reagents that are finding these documents are being able to like provably understand what is going on, right? But then again, I guess the question would be like, what the fuck are you gonna do about it, right? I mean, you're here. It's not like you protesting to what's happening is going to get you anywhere, right? You just do the fucking trials. Hopefully you can get out. They're giving you a promise of letting you out if you do certain things, right? Do this and we'll set you free. It's so fucked up. I love this game so much. It is so fucked up. The way that they mess with your head. Or not our head, but the character's head. Obviously, we're in a video game. You could make an argument that we're just as much slaves to it as the in-game characters, but that's like more of an abstract kind of idea. The pivot. So these are like conversations had. Clearly, Scarfiati. And what is that supposed to mean, Easterman? You're not a lemonade man. Loud slurping noise on tape. Gooseberry, Whitehorn. They had already developed a cult of personality, either through wealth or media. And Coyle? Sergeant Coyle, too. His occupation alone gave him authority over others, a monopoly of power and violence. The prime assets had too much charisma. I need blank canvases. Everyone is a blank canvas. Give me people at the opposite end of the culture, lost and helpless, people we can break down to nothing. That's what we had in the experimental population, the Mount Massive patients. No. The X-Pop were full of damage, trauma. We couldn't empty them out. Only shovel in more damage and trauma. And your dispossessed would not be similarly damaged? Dispossessed, God. The way that they speak so casually, you know what I mean? And one of the most interesting aspects of this game is that these are people that are clearly from different parts of the world. Their names are super, super unique to very specific countries at the time. Right? So, you know, seeing these names, like, it tells you how spread out this truly is. They were grabbing some of the most unfiltered and creative, terrifying minds across the fucking planet and centralize them into this facility in New Mexico, hidden in the deserts of New Mexico, where no one gives a fuck. No one's looking out there, right? It's isolated as shit. And they're taking these people and they're making they're so disconnected from like reality in a sense, right? They're so disconnected from the concept of like community and ethics and all that shit. They see these other human beings as fucking lab rats, and they are treating them as that. They're very casually speaking to each other. This is all professional. They're cracking kind of jokes. They're saying no, and in the middle of their sentences going as in to make some kind of sarcastic statement, right? The casual nature of their language is fascinating. Given the fucking material we're working with. I'm gonna stick on these for a while. I'm really into this stuff. There's so many documents to get through too. I'm worried I'm gonna get like lost in the sauce on these. I love it so much. Your dispossessed would not be similarly damaged. I don't believe so. There'll be losers, bums, but bums inside the greatest country on earth, with Christian morals, cared for by a generous welfare state. There'll be adult-aged children, narcotized, lacking ambition, trained in complicity. You make it sound easy. I don't believe it will be easy, not even a little bit, but it will be less expensive. You have my interest. If you let them shut this down now, you're just throwing away Murkov's money. But if we pivot to the next phase of the experiment, we're just keeping things rolling. There's almost no new expense outside of gathering reagents. There will be more chemical components in this phase? No, reagents are new experimental subjects. The center of lathe 2 will be reagent. Wait. The center of lathe 2 will be reagents. Sorry, I'm losing myself here. When they're finished, when they're ready to be released into the world, they'll be agents we can release into the culture that cause change without being consumed. God. Oh, that's amazing. I fucking love this. This was your promise for Project Lathe from the start. We're millions of dollars into failure. And if we stop now, that money wasted. That's money wasted. I'm losing my fucking train of thought here. If we keep going, we could make history. Not as an idiom. I mean literally, we could make history. That's awesome. They've had 5 years working together on this. They know each other very well. They know what they're doing. And they have just clear, concise plans and goals. And the goal here is to create a population of people that will just simply do your bidding. That's it. The person screaming in my ear right now, muffled screaming happening. If you have headphones on, you can probably hear it too. The background for this game is there's a lot of screaming and just awful sounds. This game is really terrifying. The vertical slice of the human brain. Lawler Langley. Mr. Baronsize. I hope the oh my goodness, science word. I hope the meprobate remains efficacious. Efficacious. God. I know that word. I should have fucking recognized it. I find the effect on my wife near miraculous, and I trust that it's helped you keep the steady hand. Dude, hold on. I'm like talking too much, and it's like draining the energy out of my brain. Hold on. It's only gonna get worse too. I'm gonna be like flubbing every single word momentarily. Find the effects on my wife near miraculous. Wait, what? study hand in hand. I've always admired your character despite the recent setbacks. Wonder whether or not Signala will continue to receive funding. Brad, who signed this? This is Easterman, yeah, so he's kind of begging for them to keep the project going. Abelino should have already reached out to you with the good news that we have found a way to salvage current resources and push forward into even more exciting research. I wanted to follow up with some scientific specific. Yeah, he's not acknowledging the failure he made with Project. Oh wait, no, he is. I don't think he's referencing it as like a failure, though. I don't think he's owning up to that. Project Lathe created psychotics, which is at least a partial success. We're working to create agents willing to do anything, and murder is, of course, a prime boundary of taboo. But our success here lacked necessary subtlety and control. Jesus. Project Lathe was based on classical operant conditioning, focusing on subconscious triggers. It was crude and it was effective. However, it revealed an unexpected and extremely promising side effect. Our recent setbacks provided us with an enormous number of lathe subjects for autopsy, and those revealed strange tumor-like growths in the parietal lobes. This, taken in light of recent discoveries made Doctors Penfield and Jasper, suggests an avenue for a more precise form of operant conditioning. My next few days will be dedicated to a very limited proof of concept, after which I will share my theory. I just want you to know that great things are coming. Expect more from me. So, I'm a psychology major, and so I've been taking Intro to Psychology. And so a lot of this terminology is very familiar to me now. Operant conditioning in particular, we had an entire section focused on that. Or operant and classical conditioning. So let's see, what was the classical conditioning? Classical operant conditioning. Gotcha. Classical operant conditioning? That's not... Hold on. Hold on. Gotta make sure I'm not wrong here. Because classical conditioning and operant conditioning are separate from each other. I don't remember it ever being brought up that they could exist at the same time. Yeah. Yeah, with operant conditioning, it's like there's like a reward system involved usually, or like a punishment system. Yeah, I think classical conditioning is more like associative stuff. Yeah, whereas operant is more like direct kind of punishment reward systems. So like, yeah, that's exactly what these trials are, right? Obviously the use of praise and of demeaning based on what your score is on certain levels, right? Dr. Easterman will have a set of completely unique voice lines depending on what specific grade you have. And I'm talking down to the minuses and pluses, right? Like ranging from superb to fucking garbage. And he will comment very uniquely depending on which, right? He'll call you a complete fucking failure basically to your face, make you feel like shit for getting an F. If you get an A+, he'll praise you for for having met his approval, right? He's a godlike figure. He puts himself in a position where he's so far above them, which he is. That's the thing. He is. He's the one in control of all this shit, right? And it's interesting to picture that, you know, behind all the whispery, creepy bullshit he throws at you, somewhere like, you know, between those voice lines he's making, he's having like these conversations with people. He has an actual business side of things that he's got to manage, while at the same time ensuring that he maintains this godly presence for these this experimental population of people. Maybe our autopsies aren't detailed enough. I've bombarded subjects with pharmaceuticals and therapy. I've cut open and methodically searched dozens of brains. There's absolutely zero correlation between stimulus and lesion growth. This one consistency, even close to interesting, are shared visions of this Skinner man, some Jungian nightmare man zeitgeisting his way through the test subjects. But that is not science. There will be no Lathe 2. They will shut us down. This is a disaster. Again, the fact that he's casually, like, you know, opening these people's fucking brains and looking through them, probably himself, right? Or he probably has a team of surgeons. That's what you're seeing. That's another creepy thing. That is one of the creepiest fucking elements of this game, is that part of the level design is that you will see the scientist fuckers just casually sitting there taking notes while staring at all the shit happening in there. It's amazing. It's fucking amazing. Great news. My proof of concept is a phenomenal success. Really? It is a big change of kind of vibes here, huh? Parietal lesions form just as expected, allowing me to adjust with surprising precision the so-called cortical homunculus. Once properly conditioned, Murkoff or the client will be able to set predetermined behaviors into the subject's very brain. Belief will follow, and by subtle adjustments we can make agents capable of nearly anything. Think of it as having a devil on one shoulder. In the properly conditioned subject's experience, it will be like a dark conscious, an experience not unlike temptation or addiction. Oh my God. But once acted upon, the motivation of that temptation will follow. Even a committed cynic like Scarfiotti must undertake the power of such a tool. Clearly, we'll recommend that Murkoff continues funding of Project Lathe. This will be our century. Wow. This will be our century. That's a scary line, huh? Lathe 2 begins, so he did get funding for it. The board of our agency partners have officially authorized operations of Project Lathe 2. Please note that limbic aggression therapy will heretofore be replaced in documentation with latent agency therapy. Expenditures for the second phase of Project Lathe should be significantly less than Phase 1, there's a typo, as it reuses already built assets, Signala facility and surviving staff, trial environments, prime assets, and experimental population. Overnight from Los Alamos and cooperation influx from Mount Massive will be minimal. Pending results, agency funding will require also minimal sharing of results from MK Ultra, MK Delta, and MK Naomi. I need to look up those. I need to look up what the fuck. I've never heard of MK Naomi. I think I've heard of Delta, not MK Naomi. Joint Department of Defense research program from 50s through 70s. Let's see. Boston-based emo pop hallucination. Excuse me? Named for the covert CIA bioweapons program. What the fuck? Bioweapons. How much you want to bet they got some nice Japanese scientists, huh? How much you want to bet? Oh, fuck. And the access powers. Okay. What about Delta? Top secret CIA subproject operating from 50s through 70s. Establishing procedures for the use of MK Ultra biochemical materials, including LSD and other drugs. It focused on using these substances for interrogation, harassment, discrediting, or disabling individuals. Wow. Operational counterpart to the research focus MK Ultra, covering the actual deployment of. Oh wow! I didn't. Okay, that's awesome. That history is cool. MK Delta was when they put is the they were the department basically that was completely focused on implementing the findings of MK Ultra. So implementing what is learned through MK Ultra in like actually like doing it in the field, right? Taking people and doing this shit. Gotcha. So they're wow. So they're like casually requesting results coming from these three government level agencies. Lathe 2 is barreling forward at an inspiring pace. The influx of funding was so unexpected that I was momentarily afraid it was the result of some sort of accounting error. Baron Syke is insisting on my sharing test results from the paperclip team at Los Alamos, especially with regard to this Skinner man. It's clearly just a nightmare, some subconscious projection of the guards, or the nurses who attend to the subject's ESOP maintenance and invasive therapy during induced twilight. This Wernicke character thinks everything is solvable in dreams. To a hammer, the world is made of nails. To a Nazi, the world is made of nightmares. Ooh, fuck. One of the sleep room observers had the gall to suggest this Skinner man is a reflection of me, simply because he overheard reagents calling it Dr. Skinner. Ridiculous. I am like a kind of father to my patients, and they love me as much as I respect them. The correlation of heart attack and stroke with the Skinner man's appearance is only that. So he is not into this whole idea that the Skinner man is... like, he's in denial that it exists because it reflects poorly on his goals for, like, what this project is, Project Lathe, right? His whole goal here is to make these people worship him, but he is ultimately, evidenced through this appearance of the Skinner man, which is actually a mechanic in the game, by the way. This fucking guy... Oh, hold on. My eye is itching. Hold on, now I lost where I was. Hold on. Oh yeah, his goal here, he's leading through fear by accident, basically. He's not intending to... The control that he desires to have over these people is through an avenue of worship. But this possibility of a Skinner man is reflective of the possibility that it's actually fear that is making them obedient. But fear is only a motivator for as long as, like, the subject is affected by it. You know what I mean? You can only push someone so far for them to stop fearing you, right? To a degree. And I guess it's that balance of making sure that, you know, they have to maintain that fear in you. And I think he probably wants to avoid all that hard work, right? But it's probably pretty fucking difficult when your entire project involves what this game is. Lathe redesign, latent agency design, part 1. A rat in a Skinner box doesn't need to know why it pushes the lever outside of a desire to avoid pain. Oh no. It kicked me out. I think it kicked me out because I was AFK or something, right? It just fucking kicked me out. Did that say... It said insecurity. The whispering in the... That is fucking creepy. It just whispered, I love you. Ooh, God. Alright, let's get back into this. We're still... Oh, no. We're in, the redesign. These are human beings, not rats. So, prejudiced rats. We're not creating a behavior, we're creating a complex. There is no difference. A psychological complex has a story. It's pain combined with a story. Let's say somebody is frequently burned with cigarettes. They will quickly learn a fear response to a smoldering cigarette. Their behavior will change to avoid cigarettes. Now let's say somebody is frequently burned with cigarettes by their beautiful and voluptuous mother, who whispers, I love you, but the donuts are making you fat. That person hasn't just learned a behavior, that person has a complex. So they're not afraid of cigarettes, they're afraid of donuts. This is your big revelation? Scarfiati, you are retarded, right? That you're not picking up what he's saying? Like, I understand where he's kind of coming from, but, like, I mean, I feel like Scarfiati is just being a dick to be a dick there. It only starts with donuts. It's an absurd example, but follow it. That donut was suggested by your voluptuous mother. Not my mother, some rhetorical mother. My mother would never. Some beautiful, busty, platonic mother, blouse one button down on a warm day, a sweat-damp strand of hair plastered on her brow. What does the unconscious brain link to the donut? Scarfiati laughs. You can see the complications. And so you add to the complications contradictory objectives, justice through lies, love through punishment, faith through absurdity, mercy through violence. Yes, exactly. Extreme contradiction, contradictory taboo. So provocation as to strip everything of meaning, leaving a blank place where we can instill precise psychological complexes. Isn't that exactly what he's doing with the players? Isn't that, like, exactly what he's doing with the players? He is desensitizing you to what violence really is. That way he can make the most, or like what good or bad or any of this is. Like completely separating you from like what you understand to be ethics and morals and rules and right and wrong and good and bad and all that shit. He's stripping you completely of your ability to recognize those things as being distinct from each other. That you become a blank canvas for him to do whatever the fuck he wants. And that's exactly what he does with the players, because we continue to log on to this game and play whatever the new fucking trial is. In fact, we're almost excited every time. You know how excited I was that a new map just came out? More torture, hell yeah. Right? I got excited for it. It fucking worked. And like that's obviously such a lighter example, it being a video game, of course. There's no actual like torture happening here. This is all theoretical shit. But taking that concept and adding it to the context of what if you were in a situation where you were? What if you were in a situation where you were like actually here in this fucking facility? Of course it would work. We have proof in the fact that the people playing the fucking game are desensitized to this shit and keep going in for more. With the promise that we're going to get something out of it. Unintelligible. It does not require enormous redesign. The trial environments have the same basic shape and aesthetic. Coyle will believe he is the law in his private fiefdom. Gooseberry will believe she is in her make-believe world of childhood joy. Their belief, their control over the X-Pop creates a furnace of violence taboo within which we can burn away the reagent's personalities. It's too complicated. It has to be difficult or they won't learn. They have to participate in the lesson. So tell me what you are learning here. Gates and keys, these symbols. The symbols all represent luck. The marks on playing cards, rabbits, stars, luck, fortune, wishes. The law is arbitrary. A murderer is punished much more than an an attempted to murderer. They are simply being punished for being competent, or more likely for being lucky. They have to believe the law is arbitrary but simultaneously undeniable. Talking to you is exhausting. They will believe that a donut is nothing but a donut, and then we can show them what a donut really is. Yeah, again, like this is exactly what he's doing with the players. So when he mentions symbols represent luck, right? The marks on playing cards: rabbits, stars, luck, fortune, wishes. The law is arbitrary. Murder is punished much more than an attempted to murder. Yeah. God. The Architect. What time is it? I think I might read through just... I'm going to have to do like a separate stream for each of these files, I swear to God. I might actually do that, though. I'm having fun with this. I'm enjoying this. I'm enjoying reading through this shit. Dear Bradley, I understand... This is from Gottlieb. Wait, Gottlieb? Gottlieb? Holy shit. Dear Bradley, I understand you need an architect for the project in Arizona. Our friend Alan has a recommendation for you. In the Second War, Alan was stationed in Bern with a Navy engineer named Moses Scarfiotti. Moses was one of the few. It seems we could keep with old Alan's extracurricular activities. Oh yeah, this takes place a few years before, actually. This is 3 years prior. This is the middle point of the time gap that happened at the start. He's a Stanford man. Top of his class, and more importantly, one of us. You can trust him. The agency will highly recommend you consider him. Sidney Gottlieb. That is fucking crazy. But I hold on. Let me make sure I'm not just crazy. Gottlieb's like one of the most influential names. Pioneering American manufacturer of pinball machines. That is not what I'm looking for. Gottlieb Daimler? Now this is S. Gottlieb. Sidney Gottlieb. Is my stream still up? It is. American chemist, Sidney Gottlieb. And spy master who headed the Central Intelligence Agency. Oh, that's how I know the name. That's a big name. That is a big fucking name. And this is Gottlieb sending that. This is Gottlieb sending it to Bradley regarding their mutual. God. So Scarfiotti's a big deal. If he's getting, like, Gottlieb's attention. God. Job interview. Have you been? I don't have children. That doesn't matter at all. You have to go. It's the future. I mean, if we have a future. My blah, 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 blah kept telling me to go. And finally, Helliwell? Correct. Disneyland. It's like inaudible coin sorter. It's behavioral architecture. The space moves people through it. The shapes instruct visitors how to behave. It doesn't matter what you think you want. Just being in Disneyland erases whoever you woke up as this morning. It says, now be patient, now be delighted, now be hungry, now be covetous, now be compliant. It's wonderful. I've never seen so many happy people. And you feel you understand the principle of how Mr. Disney achieved all this. Correct? It's so clear once you've seen it. There were hints of this in Germany. It's like a cathedral built by Edward Barnes. You don't mind if I smoke? McCarthy? Inaudible. Yes, well, I try not to get involved in politics. So Scarfiotti was super interested in Disney. I love the real world applications of this fucking game. We're using very real concepts that exist within that just exist within like the world we actually live in, like our real history. Yeah, talking about Disney, man. Way the fuck back then, man. I think Disney still has a lot of sinister elements to it nowadays, but it has been kind of, part of that has kind of been robbed over by commercialization, right? By money. It's become less about like controlling people and more about making money. And part of making money involves controlling people to a degree. But Disneyland doesn't seem to be as much in the business of making super soldiers to do their bidding. They're just looking for a bunch of mindless robots to farm resources off of. Right? And that's what they have. Disney has that pretty good. But I think what things like MK Ultra were designed for example, was creating like military use of this knowledge, implementation of the knowledge of the human mind and ways of manipulating it so that you can control people, so that you can turn elections, so that you can address a new system in which power is decided, in which superiority is established. And in the current world, that seems to be through, a lot of which is through capital possession, right? Just having money is equivalent to having resources. And a lot of these companies are funding some terrifying technologies that will likely lead to them possessing so much power over everybody else that they are effectively like a godlike figure that we're going to have no choice but to just conform to. And it's possible that that power will not be in the possession of another human being. That's what we're looking at nowadays. And you can see the roots of where that kind of future was spelled out back during the turn of the century with the Industrial Revolution and as the scale started truly setting when it comes to technological advancement, right? When the scale started really setting for that shit, that's when we started to see like, oh, I can kind of see where this is going. And that's why like things like I have no mouth and I'm a screen were written like decades and decades and decades ago, before the concept of AI was even like a public concept, right? I'm talking just like computer nerds understanding the concept of artificial intelligence. Whereas the public at the time probably had no fucking idea the first thing about what an artificial intelligence could be, or what the hell would define that. So we're going back another year for this one. This is Easterman. Snow and ice collects in the bullet holes pocketing the walls everywhere. It will take decades to rebuild Berlin. Having a nip of brandy to stave off the cold. My flight to Hong Kong isn't for another 3 days. I have tasked myself with studying Jung. If I can convince the agency to shuttle me to Zurich, I may traps around Berg-Olsley for inspiration. I don't even know. Maybe one more brandy. Berlin has me in the mind of the Second War. The spoils of every war before were land and treasure. But in this last and greatest of conflicts, the spoils of war are cultural. Say when you will what you will about the evils of National Socialism. They have much to teach us about infrastructure, propaganda, leadership. Such things to come. God, such things to come. Yeah, looking back at this, this was, yeah, right as he was moving there, for sure. That adds up timeline-wise. Second entry in the page dated January 20th, 54. Deterioration in quality of handwriting suggests inebriation. Okay. The true spoils of that war were reaped in the Orient, in Hiroshima, in the use of weapons that could mean instantaneous global death and truly meaningless non-existence, extinction. Nobody will be remembered because nobody is around to remember. Anything is possible. Anything is permitted. Yeah, I mean, he's got a point there. Ideological remodeling. Hong Kong, crowds and steam and noise, the incessant thrum of the textile factories. This is not a civilized place for thought. The agency wants a full investigation of the technique of see now, translated as wash brain. Oh wow, look at that. And has put me up in the observation post in Suan Wan. They have a dozen veterans for my study, Western and Chinese, exposure to see now techniques. There are greater lessons I see in the Chinese Communist Party's admitted, even celebrated, program of Su Xiang Kai Cao. Oh, dear God. Ideological remodeling, a deliberate shaping of a whole population, which by all indications is taking energetic hold. The brainwashing victims, on the other hand, are largely listless, near catatonic. In between bouts of aggression, they are not programmed machines so much as broken children. I see. They're not, like, developed, they're just simply obedient, I guess. Dr. Skinner. I may have broken Private Ramus. I've been employing a benzedrine to prep him up to the talkative state, but his testimony has been confounding mixture of repetition and contradiction. Our sessions are dependably cut short by the appearance of the doctor, or sometimes Dr. Skinner, the invisible specter that seems to manifest whenever I ask too directly about the methodology of Ramus's captors. We increased Benadryl dosage from 20 milligrams to 30 milligrams, and despite a brief window of lucidity, Ramus seized and has gone into a permanently catatonic state. Cardio and Calvanograph readings suggest he still faces the torments of the doctor, along with the expression on his face, which is twisted permanently into an expression of pain and fear. It reminds me of nothing so much as the hideous smile on a Japanese Hanya mask. Oh, that's a fun reference. I love those masks. August 22nd, 55, so we're jumping back forward a bit. The way to Signal is a long trip on bad roads. I feel like somebody's been kicking me in the spine. I find myself missing Irene not only for her marital duties, but her not inconsiderable skills as a masseur. Jesus Christ, dude. That's... wow. That's very that really shows you what kind of person he is, like at his core, right? That he sees his wife as little more than a convenience. He misses the convenience of having a woman that takes care of him and fucks him, basically. Gives him good massages, right? He doesn't think fondly back at her for like being a companion or having some kind of person. Because here's the reality. I'm sure she would never understand him, right? she doesn't know who Easterman really is. Whatever woman married this guy didn't know who she really married. This is a guy who is immensely knowledgeable in the realm of the human mind, right? He's fascinated by the human mind, and he's spent a lot of his life understanding the human mind. So whenever you're in a relationship with somebody like that, you need to understand that there's always the possibility that they are a malicious person that is really good at hiding who they really are and is only with you in circumstances of it being a convenience, and knowing exactly how to interact with you to ensure that you maintain interest in the relationship as well, right? If you're a smart enough person, you can get away with that shit. And I imagine his wife probably wasn't aware of that. That is a very interesting characterization of Easterman. I really like that. I am writing supine, alone in a warehouse that could house an army. The space will do. I have electricity from generators. Drawing water from the Colorado or Havasu will be a feat of engineering, but it is not impossible. We'll need an architect. Avelinos will be interviewing candidates. And this is how they got to Scarpiati. The collections department, too, is already at work researching potential subjects, both for prime assets and general experimental population. The desert is lonely, but it's the sort of loneliness that inspires focus. I find the sun a fountainhead of inspiration. I'm flushed with optimism. We are going to achieve phenomenal things here. Easterman separated himself from regular humanity. I think that's what allows him to like be perfectly okay with what he's doing here. Is that similar to like what he's doing with the experimental population of like basically making them disassociate right from wrong, or like kind of neutralize all their conceptualizations of reality and like humanity, right? Similarly, he has done that to himself almost unintentionally by ignoring the most human aspects of himself, I imagine. I think he separated the individual from the whole, if you know what I'm saying. Not a lot of people have done that. Not a lot of people have separated themselves from the whole. And a lot of people stay in the whole because they care. A lot of people don't. And that's how you get people like Elon Musk and Donald Trump, right? You get these selfish people that see themselves as a separate entity from the rest of humanity. Easterman was one of those people, evidently. Because in order to do that, you have to acknowledge that what we perceive to be like the aspects of what makes someone human are purely observational, and the definitions are truly self-defined. And once you acknowledge that, and once you look into that, I can absolutely see somebody separating entirely from it, creating their own definition of what it is, and it being just a phenomenal interest in power over other human beings. And being able to control them, and doing whatever the fuck you want. And being a god, basically, a god of the world. And how do you do that? By gaining power, however means that there are that exist. Right? A small dose of lysergic acid, self-administered. Charisma, belief, investigating fundamentals. I've been burned by the sun. The desert is revealing to me some new truth I haven't yet unraveled. I called Irene and asked her to find the Julius Firmicus Maternus on my bookshelf, but she could or would not. There is something in Jung, the phallus of the sun, animo descensus per orbem solis tributur. Oh, this guy is a fucking quack. The sun is our only rational God, the center of all life, and yet to look directly at it would mean blindness. For a person to be truly transformatively charismatic, they must be unknowable and lethally dangerous. To look at them directly, it would make you blind. That is terrifying. Because you can see where he gets, like, this is where that voice comes from. This is where Easterman comes from. Easterman as we know it as players, as we see it when we play the game, that Easterman has its roots in this mind, this way of thinking that he kind of adapts here. Charismatic authority. Second entry on the page dated August 25th. I believe Avelinos understands, Lawler less so. He seems to harbor some doubts toward my work, even though he's the one who introduced me to Murkoff. We'll be pitching Lawler for continued funding on Monday. I found a Bible in a soldier's locker, comforted myself with a little Corinthians. St. Paul understood. Charismatic authority overpowers a legality, tradition, and indignity. Charisma can create deep and widespread societal change. But Paul also said charisma could only be gifted by God. I disagree. Humans are clay, and no organ wetter and no vulnerable to sculpting as the brain. Oh wait, with no organ wetter and so vulnerable to sculpting as the brain. What the agency needs to understand is that charisma can be a product. Charisma can be a weapon. I would love to study Dr. Wernicke. He's one of the clearest examples of charismatic aura I've ever encountered. There's an uncanny shamanism to his face. One gets the sense he believes intensely in something impossible to put into words. I had the feeling while looking at him that his eyes were changing size. I cannot tell if this magnetism is a deterrent or boon to his science, the tendency of the deeply charismatic to impart belief unto others, the deeply subjective science. Well, charisma. So charisma is the primary method he uses for, like, establishing, like, obedience. He, from my understanding, he implements this through the charisma of the prime assets. They're all charismatic in a certain way. They're all alluring in a certain way. They can all, like, manipulate people to do their bidding in all kinds of manners of ways. Every single one of them does, right? Bambino does it through fear and violence, right? He is the most aggressive one. He constantly berates you. He's relatively conscious compared to, like, Gooseberry, right? He's, he's just a psychopath. He's just a crazed serial killer psycho fuck. And he's violent. And that fear that you get. I mean, Bambino's one of the scariest ones because he's got that range. The moment he sees you, he starts shooting at you. The closer he is, the harder he hits. The way he moves, he's super erratic. He's kind of, like, unpredictable. Like, he's a pretty scary one to see. Like, Bambino's one of the more annoying ones to deal with for sure, right? Compared to, like, the Crest ones, for example. So he leads through fear. Coyle does through just authority, right? I'm above you. I am the law. I am the rule, right? You'll do what I say because that's the boundaries in which you're supposed to work in. You know, like, whenever he chases you around, he's constantly mentioning, like, you're breaking the fucking law. You know, or who do you think you are? Shit like that, right? That's the kind of shit he shouts at you. So, like, I guess the method of charisma there is, like, submission, right? Like, becoming submissive to an authoritative figure. Just because, like, they're the ones that are leading and setting the rules and all that shit. Gooseberry is more, I guess, like, instructional. She's a teacher, right? About dental hygiene. She's a method of teaching people, a mother, a motherly figure, a guide, uh, mother goose, right? I think literally that's where that comes from, is a mother goose, like a guiding presence that you follow, like out of because you see her, you have a maternal respect for her. I could see that, and then she has the dad, right? Her dad, who is like kind of more of a Coil type authoritative figure. Uh, God, she's terrifying. Gooseberry is one of the more terrifying ones. The Crest twins are politics, so they're persuasive through language, right? They're persuasive through, twisting, like your Bill Clintons. Your Bill Clintons, that's what they are. They're representative of those smarmy, really smart, really manipulative politicians that know how to just allure people with their word. They just say things a certain way and people take their word as gospel, right? The politician. The man that can convince swaths of people to listen. And then there's Lilia Bogomolova, the newest one, my favorite one, and she's through religion, religious faith, miracles, right? The concept of miracles. Her part of her backstory is like literally something that can only be described as a miracle, like some medical marvel occurs in which her tongue like just grows back. I don't remember if it stated if that was fake in any way. I don't think it was, but her tongue just fucking grew back after being cut off by I think it was Germans. I think, 'cause I think she's a Russian woman, but she's a very religious person, and she prayed to God and all this stuff. And after being subject to all of this torture and all this suffering and all this pain, she completely fucking cracked and became somewhat of a prophet to like a small group of people. She was able to relay a prophetic image off of like her, and that's what you get when you fight her. She whispers like very religious kind of I don't know, words. I'm sure there's something in the vocabulary out there that is a good way for me to communicate what I'm trying to say here, but she's just away with her words, away with her translation, her impression on what God wishes, right? She kind of poses herself as almost a figure, a divine figure. I mean, she's in the jewelry, right? The brooches, the very high class, the kind of golden tint to her design. She has somewhat of a divine aura to her. So I can see like her manipulation coming from that. She's also kind of kicked up, not gonna lie. Her arm's fucked up. She is. I love her design so goddamn much, and I love the gameplay of her, and I love the idea of them using her as an avenue to explore the manipulation of human minds through aspects of religion, which is something that is seen quite frequently, and nobody wants to talk about it because it is a very uncomfortable subject. But the truth of the matter is, even if you yourself belong to some kind of church, you can at least acknowledge that there are other churches out there that do that kind of shit. And it might, and by acknowledging that, you do also have to acknowledge the possibility that yours might be wrong. And that's just kind of, that's just how it be. That yours might not be an exception to that. Anyway, we're not going to get into that. That's a subject that we're going to bring up way fucking later, thank God, in the Lilia documents here. Which I don't have all of them. The next few, I do not have all of them. I'm missing a single one here. I'm missing a few here. I'm missing a decent bit. We still got more to go. Like if we're counting it, let's see, we got 1, 3, 8, Jesus Christ, 8, 13, 14, 16, 17, 27. We're missing 27 documents, and the bulk of them is from Lilia and Invasion. Oh no, the bulk is from Lilia and Variators, oddly. I honestly don't even know what the fuck. Oh, right. Variators are the events. Winter Kills, Toxic Shock, Deep Burn. And then we got Ghosts of Outlast Future. Lupara. Emilia has some of the most interesting stuff. She is a fascinating character. The escape event is one of the greatest parts of this game's history. It was so fucking cool. I'm really excited what they do with her, because they're not done with her. They're still not done with her. They still have her for something. They're gonna do something with her, and I'm kind of thinking she might become a member of the Prime Asset cast. That would be sick as shit if she was. The only way I could think of, like, because here's the thing, she already was like kind of a guy. No, but they're shooting themselves in the foot with that though, because the new escape things that they put into effect exist exclusively for the purpose of making sure that the people within the trials, all the reagents, no longer trust in Amelia and her word, because they themselves have killed her. Very effective. But yeah, I don't know. They're probably going to do something with her. This has been a long stream. It's getting really late. I have school tomorrow. I have class. I have sleep that I need to get to doing. So if anybody ended up watching this, I doubt you did. That's fine if you didn't. This is more for me because I'm nerding the fuck out over this stuff. Have a good night, or morning, or evening, or noon, or afternoon, or midnight, whatever the fuck it is. Have a good one, and I might stream again. I might stream again sometime to go through the other documents. We'll see what happens. Until then, ciao ciao.